Good evening, everyone. A very warm welcome to all present here, our respected professors, faculty members, and dear students. On behalf of the Placement Assistance Council and Shodh Campus Law Center, I'm delighted to welcome you all to this two-day workshop on the fundamentals of research, principles, pathways, and prospects. This workshop has been designed to help us as law students develop a deeper understanding of how research begins, how it's structured, and how it can help us explore new professional and academic pathways. Over the next 2 days, we'll explore the principles of research design, methodology, and publication ethics. To formally commence today's sessions, I would like to invite our teacher convener, our student convener Hardik from Placement Assistance Council.
Am I audible to everyone?
Yes, they're audible.
Hello, am I audible? Perfect. Thank you so much. Uh, Good evening, everyone. First of all, we are really very sorry for the technical glitch that has arose because of some unforeseeable thing. And on behalf of the Placement Assistance Council and Shodh, we welcome you all for the two-day workshop at on the topic fundamentals of research, pathways, prospects, and principles. Uh, First of all, I would like to thank Prerna ma'am for like giving her precious time to us because we know that the schedule of ma'am is very very hectic, and right now working on a very big project, that too on the rights of the child with respect to the POXO and everything, and that too with a foreign university. So that actually creates a value, adds a value to the whole thing and the whole credibility of this workshop, that whatever placement cell and show are bringing together is something which is going to help students a lot. And obviously, if uh, if the mentor and our alumni like Prerna ma'am is coming here and taking a workshop, it is a matter of privilege for us that our alumni are available and they are like bringing the things together to ensure that our learnings could not be hampered despite having critical situations whenever we are conducting anything. So thank you so much, ma'am, for joining, and I welcome you every. I welcome everybody who is there in the meeting and who is joined on YouTube. Thank you so much, ma'am, and I hope that this workshop would literally create a value in your uh, future growth and everything. Thank you so much. Nancy, please go ahead.
Thank you so much, Hardik. Our distinguished speaker today is Ms. Prerna, an alumna of Campus Law Center, batch of 2019, currently serving as a Global Data Fellow at Childlight, University of Edinburgh, where she leads India's National Legislative Review on Accountability for AI-generated safety content. She has previously worked as a law clerk cum research associate to Honorable Mr. Justice Aniruddha Bose at the Supreme Court of India, contributing to several landmark constitutional and criminal law matters. Ms. Prerna is a British Council Great Scholar and a recipient of the Edinburgh Award for Student Leadership, holding an LLM in Criminal Law and Criminal Justice from the University of Edinburgh. Her research and publications span topics such as victim advocacy, AI and criminal law, digital safety and human rights, and she has delivered multiple guest lectures across leading universities such as the National Law University Delhi, Lucknow University, and Manipal University. It's an honor to welcome back one of CLC's own, who continues to inspire students through a remarkable journey in research, policy, and justice reform. Ma'am, you have the floor.
Thank you so much. I hope I'm audible, just to check.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, thank you so much for giving me this opportunity, and I'm happy to be back. And I know a lot of you have reached out to me so many times over the last few months to take this workshop, to do something about research, and it's always a pleasure to go back to your own university, your own alma mater, since I have studied at CLC, so I kind of know the problems, the challenges, the atmosphere that goes around. And I also know there's a lot of myths and a lot of lack of awareness around research as a career opportunity, and like what research even constitutes, what happens. So these 2 days workshops are designed in a way that it will discuss very fundamentals of it, from what is research to how you can publish a paper to what kind of career opportunities is there for you. So like of course like PAC has done already given like a brief background of mine, but just to substantiate a bit on it in terms of research. So after CLC, I directly went to Edinburgh University for my master's in criminal law and criminal justice. After that, I interned in London in a research based startup for over 6 months. And then after that, I came back and I joined Supreme Court as a law clerk. I worked there over 2 years. After working at Supreme Court, I joined National Law University Delhi, where I was leading their Center for Criminology and Victimology for over 2 years. Again, proper research. And then after that, I have joined University of Edinburgh, where I'm working remotely from India, leading their project in India. So my career till now has been very research focused, and the way that I got all of these opportunities is knowing how to do good research, because unless you bring what's on the table of a quality that people can't reject, you can't go ahead in research. But this is also to tell you that research can be a full career in its own. And it can also, I mean, and research skills are such transferable skills that even if you think that you want to switch to another area or another career, back to litigation or corporate or anything, it will always come in handy. I will quickly share my presentation. I think I have the permission to. 1 second. Is it okay? I think it's visible, right?
Yes.
Okay, right. So what we'll do today is, so I've divided the sessions of the 2 days in a way that today we will discuss the fundamentals of research, the purpose of legal research, types of legal research, the ethics, common myths, what are some of the takeaways, what are the career opportunities in legal research, why it matters in every legal career, the overview pathways, how to start building your research profile. If we have time, we'll go to a simulation exercise. I'll give a glimpse of day 2 of the workshop and then open the flow. I'll try to let some time be for Q&A. Not quite sure if it will happen. And then I will, towards the end of this workshop, give on what we will discuss tomorrow, which is more in depth about writing and reading and doing it. Today is just more fundamental about what is basically research and the career opportunities you can have from it. So to begin with, so what is research? So research is defined as the creation of new knowledge and or the use of existing knowledge in a new and creative way so as to generate new concepts, methodologies, and understandings. This includes synthesis and analysis of previous research to the extent that leads to new and creative outcomes. So as you can see, so this definition I have taken from Western Sydney University. So as you can see already, I have quoted it in double quotes, and I've already mentioned the university's name in a bracket down there. I've not used any particular citation method here because it's just a presentation that I'm giving. But I am not taking any credit for this definition out there because it's not mine. This is how, when you do research, when you're quoting something, you must give due credit to where it's due. So this is the definition of research that I've taken. So now in a simpler language, what is research? Research is a systematic inquiry to discover new knowledge, reinterpret existing knowledge. It is not just about collecting data or citing cases, it's also about asking better questions. So, research, you do research every day in your, probably when you're asking a general question about, somebody tells you something and you're just like, oh, how does this happen? I don't know about it. And you're Googling and you're reading some articles on it. That is research. You are exploring to gain knowledge. Now, when it comes to legal research, if you're doing it professionally, or even if you're doing it to write on something, you are doing it to explore, to interpret, to apply, reform, or critique the law. So the criticality aspect adds on to it. You're not just being descriptive about what is already there and summarizing it, but you're also adding some value to it. So here are the 6 C's you should know for research. So I very simplified it so it's easier to remember. So on the left hand side, we have the purpose of research. Number one, creativity. So it is understanding why something is the way it is. That's where it starts with. Contribution, adding something new like a perspective or a data or a critic. For example, if I ask you a question simply is like, tell me about the how is marriage performed in the Hindu act. And if you're just telling me about the descriptive, if you've decided to take that topic and you're just telling me about how it has happened, I can also read the bare act. What you need to add to it, what new things are you bringing to it? Are you telling me about something that is happening in the act that should not happen, or something that is there in the act but is not actually implementable, or there are some problems that you're facing when the act is applied? What is it that you are bringing into it? So that contribution, that's something new that you will add to it. The purpose is usually a change, which is either influencing a practice, a reform, or even just consciousness. So you sometimes the research will just enable you to understand what challenges are or what gaps are. That's it. But that is also a step, because unless that research hasn't performed, you would think things are working out impeccably, which they are not. So the 3 C's: creativity, contribution, and change. Now, this is the purpose of the research. Now, how do you go to the research mindset is number one, curiosity. You ask the why and the how beyond surface level reasoning. So if I tell you something is happening like this, your question should be, oh, why is it happening? And how is it happening like that? Unless you ask the very how and why questions, you will not dig deep into doing research. So the curiosity is very important for the research mindset. Number two, criticality. Challenging between assumptions and reading between the lines. So when you are doing a particular research and you're reading a particular paper, you need to understand the backdrop of when the paper was written, who wrote the paper, where is the paper published, what is happening there. You have to see if that particular paper also discusses everything surrounding the topic or not, or is it coming from a very biased and prejudiced background. So you need to challenge the assumptions that you're reading around a particular topic and apply your own mind and try to think if that one author or a lot of authors are just mentioning one side of the story or not, or are they not looking at this particular angle that you can bring into research. And that's how you will contribute, because you've read like tens of papers and then you've understood, oh, everybody's talking about A, B, C, but nobody's talking about D, which you can see. That D is how you will contribute. That will be the purpose of your research. And lastly, the courage. Question authority, establish precedents, and dominant narratives. But do it with caution. Don't do it with just your opinion. You need to do it in a way that. So, one second.
Sorry to disturb, ma'am.
Yeah.
The slides are not moving. Can you please?
Oh, sorry, it's moving on my. Which slide are you at?
The first one.
Oh, 1 second. Let me reshare then.
Sure.
Can you see now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, I'll just leave it to this window, then it's okay. Maybe when I'm doing it full screen, it's going away. Okay, so as I was talking about the 6 C's of research, so the purpose of research and the research mindset. So like I mentioned, the purpose of research, just to recapitulate, are the 3 C's: creativity, contribution, and the change. Creativity is the way of understanding why something is the way it is. Contribution is about what is something new that you are bringing to it. Is it a perspective, a data, or a critic? And the change that you want to do with your research. Do you want to just highlight some gaps? Do you want to highlight a particular point of view? Do you want to highlight a practice? Do you want to recommend some reforms in that area? Or just to create awareness? It can be various things. But then there's some change that you would like to happen with respect to your research. And to recapitulate the research mindset, we have the curiosity, which is the why and the how questions that you need to ask when you listen to something to go beyond the surface level of reasoning. Then the criticality, you need to challenge the assumptions, read between the lines as I discussed. And the courage, which is like you need to question things that's out there. But like I was mentioning, do not question just by your opinions. Because if there are, let's say you've read a particular judgment and you do not agree with that particular judgment, you're like, no, this is not how it should be done. Right now, as a law student, you are not important enough to just go out and say this is wrong. You need to bring the story of the other side. You need to look at the other scholars, you need to look at the other areas, maybe another conflicting judgment. And then by basing your ideas on all of those things, later towards the conclusion, you will bring out your analysis saying, oh, I agree with all of these contrary information available. And then we would go ahead and you can have your opinion. But don't give your opinion just in the air without any resource, without any sources, unless it's an op-ed piece or unless you're specifically asked for your opinion. Don't do it. Now, 1 second. Is the next slide visible? Yeah. So now we have the types of legal research, which is doctrinal, empirical, comparative, and interdisciplinary. So I have like oversimplified to put it into these 4 categories. Of course, the various other types of research as well. But to begin with, if you have no idea where to start, how to do research, what is research, you can begin with these things. So what happens in doctrinal research is basically what you do regularly. You go to library or you go online, you read the books, you read the existing laws, cases, statutes, and then you write on a particular topic. Or not even if writing, if you're just briefing somebody, if you're interning somewhere and someone had asked you, oh, this is the area, this is the legal proposition, find me some information on it. What you do is basically research, that finding information on it. Just because you're not writing in a particular format, writing is a separate part of it. That is a dissemination of the research. So how you get when you research and then when you're writing is the second part. Usually both goes together, because unless after your research you are disseminating it to a wider audience, nobody will know what you worked on. But sometimes it doesn't come as a publication or just as a dissemination. Sometimes it comes as simple as briefing your senior. Sometimes it just comes as giving a report to your senior. But then that also constitutes of research. So that is why research is important, not just if you want to pursue a career just in research, but also in any area of law. You can't do good in law without good research skills. So beginning with doctrinal, again, coming back to it, it focuses on the existing and analyzing the laws, cases, statutes, which is your day-to-day research that you do. You do online, you go, you read stuff, you write about it, or you just make notes, you collect information. That's what doctrinal is. Now the empirical is when you're actually going and collecting data on your own. So for example, during my master's, I did an empirical research, which was I was looking at victim advocacy of sexual offense survivors. And then I went and I spoke with a lot of stakeholders myself. So I went out, I spoke with the stakeholders. I had a question I prepared. I have a lot of things done. I'm not going to the methodology of step by step of how I did it. In terms of, I actually went out there and I spoke to people from multiple jurisdictions. I collected the information, and on the basis of the answers that they gave me, I had certain findings. That's empirical research. I was out there, I was on the ground, I was doing the work. On the basis of those information, I came up with certain analysis, certain gaps. That's empirical research. It's not just looking online and coming to conclusion. That's doctrinal. Now, in terms of comparative research, it can be both doctrinal or empirical, but it can also this is where you look at multiple jurisdictions. But it's not simply about, let's say, if you're looking at the right to vote. you will not simply, it has a purpose, right? So you will not just simply go like, oh, right to vote in India is like this, in US is this, it's UK is this. Again, UK has like other 3-4 jurisdictions, so you'll have to look at every jurisdiction separately. But it is not about simply summarizing what that jurisdiction is saying. It's also about highlighting how all of these jurisdictions are similar yet different. Because if they have nothing in similarity, why are you choosing them? And if they have nothing different, then again, why are you choosing them? There has to be a purpose, right? So let's say you have chosen 4 jurisdictions for your analysis. Usually, like if you're starting with it, the idea would be that you will be looking at the best practices of what they are doing and how it can be implemented in India. So you will be like, oh, the right to vote happens like XYZ way in the US, and US also follows this system similar to India, but then this is different. So we can use this practice of US in the India. While it would be easier because we have these similarities, it would also be difficult because of these differences. So giving a holistic picture of how things are happening and how comparison is done. So don't just pick up 5 lines from somewhere saying, oh, this is what happens in the US, this is what happens in the India. It's an international comparative research. It's not. Be mindful, because if you're just copy pasting 5 lines from somewhere, I would read the original. Why would I read you? So be mindful of how you're contributing to it. Then comes the interdisciplinary research, which integrates other disciplines with law. So while you can do your research and your publication that are purely legal, you can also do, for example, I do a lot of socio-legal research. That also comes because I come from an English honors background and I had a minor in sociology in an undergrad. So it's easier for me to integrate sociology in law. But if you are coming from an area which is like economics, you're coming from commerce, you're coming from whichever area, maybe look if you can integrate that area into law. If you're coming from computer science, see how you can integrate technology or CS into law if you want to. But then that's what the interdisciplinary research is. It's about not looking at that particular research just from the legal framework point of view, but also socio-legal in the sense because I did it, but also whatever area you have chosen. So like merging different disciplines into coming up with a particular piece of work. But you need to mention all of this in your introduction, in your methodology, to let the audience know what you have done, to let them know, okay, this piece of work looks through this angle, through this lens. So if I'm doing a purely legal work, I will mention my introduction or my abstract or my scope would be framed in a way that it will tell this is a purely legal work. But if I'm doing a socio-legal, I will frame my introduction, my abstract, my scope, my methodology in a way that it will tell them, oh, this is an interdisciplinary research. And if you're working so hard to put 2 disciplines together, it's always good to put it out there very clearly so people can know, okay, this is going to give us some new ideas about it. Maybe this was a particular topic, people were just looking for a point of view of statutes and case laws, but now they will have an idea on how to look at from various different discipline angles. So that's what interdisciplinary research is. Second. Now coming to ethics in research. So what is ethics in research? Basically, integrity is not optional when you're coming to research. It's the soul of a scholarship. What I mean by when I say is, if your research loses credibility once, it's extremely difficult to gain it back. If I read your, let's say I read, it's a 10-page article that you have written, and I've read 1 page, and in the first page itself, I've come across 3 points that I know those points are not yours, those points are of some famous scholars, but you have not given them due credit and you have written it as if those are your points. You lose credibility there because now I think you're fake or you don't know how to write. And either way, I don't want to waste my time reading the other 9 pages that you have written. Maybe those other 9 pages that you have written, you have done things better there. But I'm not moving past that first page because I don't have the time to go and read something that I don't believe in. So credibility and ethics are extremely important in research. So how some of the very key basic ideas that you must follow are: acknowledge sources. Everywhere, the various ways to cite, the various citations and referencing styles like OSCOLA, APA, MLA. So Blue Book, depending on what are you writing, depending on where are you asking, thinking it would get published. You need to pick a style that goes along with that publication, that journal, that book. Even if it's not getting published and you're only doing it for yourself, you still need to reference it. For example, when I was clerking at Supreme Court, so whatever I was researching, it wasn't getting published per se, because it was being either researched for a particular judgment or just to brief my boss. But every single thing was referenced, because if I go to him and he'd be like, oh, what do you think about this section? What has happened? My opinion mattered to him, so that was separate. But apart from that, I had also come with reading so many books, so many cases to formulate that idea and opinion. And when I'll tell him one sentence, I'll be like, oh, you know what, this section, this happens. And he'll be like, oh, where did you get it from? So I don't have to give him enough MLA way or like OSCOLA way, but I need to know every single sentence that I'm saying, where is it? That's what research does to you. And that's why it's important to source everything. Because if you're going to go with like 2 pages and somebody is going to ask you, oh, where did you find it? And if you're just standing there like, I don't know, it's not a good look on you. So that is why it's very important. So even if, let's say, somebody has asked you not to, if you're giving it in a way that you have not given all the sources because it's just a dialogue format between you and your senior or whatever, you need to know where the sources are for yourself, so you can cross-reference and give them anytime they want. And you have no idea what they will ask at what point of time. So please keep your resources and all your sources handy for yourself, even if it's not getting published. Now coming to the next point, which is maintaining the objectivity and neutrality. This comes more when you're doing the research, in the sense like if you're analyzing data from various years. So if I'm looking at the number of deaths that has happened in custody over 10 years, sometimes we go into research with our own prejudice or our own hypothesis, thinking, oh, this would happen or this would not happen. While I would recommend, of course, not have your own prejudice, but then that's being too utopian. Even if you do, and you're finding that your preliminary research or what your findings are going against it, don't try to manipulate or fabricate it. Because in any peer-reviewed good publication, you will have people who will check all of this. And even if it's not, you will otherwise also have people who will check all of it. I don't know if you, this is like an example that would have happened recently with like AI and everything in Australia, where Deloitte was charged to create reports, and then apparently they used AI. It was all fabricated, and they had to refund like £44,000 or something like that back to the government who have taken them to create those reports. Because what has happened is somebody made those reports with fabrication and manipulation. So initially, let's say you get away with it. You've submitted a report, nobody's checking those hundreds of pages day one. Somebody will. And then you lose your credibility forever. And also you can be charged, you can be fined, all of that. So do not do any fabrication or manipulation. Try to maintain objectivity and neutrality. Don't try to just take and go on with like one side of narrative, completely ignoring another. You can, of course, align yourself with one side of narrative, but it should come from a point of view that you have discussed both sides and then you're choosing one side. It should not come as that one side does not exist. That's about maintaining the objectivity and the neutrality of it. Next comes respecting the confidentiality. This is about if you're going on field work, sometimes you're talking to people who don't want themselves to be named and the positions to be named in your research. You need to respect that. You need to maintain that. So ideally, there should be proper training before you're sent on the field. Because my field research are UK based, I have to. It's maddening there. They have a lot of safeguards, GDPR, everything. I had to do full training on IT and GDPR just to be eligible to do it, and then I had to submit a whole report and questionnaire in advance on how I would ensure that every piece of data that I am collecting will be secured. And that was sent on multiple levels. And only when all of those levels approved of my methodologies was I able to go on ground and actually talk to people. Otherwise, they would not allow it. So even if such a safeguard is not there, at where you're working or what research you're doing, it is up to you to maintain that, to ensure that whatever information that you're putting out for publication, you have taken all the requisite permissions, you have spoken to the people, and you have their blessings, because otherwise they can always come at you. So don't do that. And always give credit to your collaborators. Don't just take somebody's work and write it as your own. If you are co-authoring with someone, give them due credit. If somebody has just assisted you with substantial part of research, give them credit for that. If you're publishing it under your own name, I mean, if it's just something that research that has gone to the institution, is their property, there's nothing you can do about it. But if it's something that you are doing and then somebody else has helped you to research with it, give them credit. So give credit where it's due, or collaborate ethically. So these are some of the very basics of being ethical in the research. Second. Coming to some of the common myths about research, is research is only for like scholars or professors. It's not. Everyone can be a researcher. Research only means if you're publishing like long papers. It's not. Like I mentioned, even if you're working with a council or a judge or in a firm and they've asked you to prepare a note, a well-meaning note on a particular topic, that is research. And you can contribute so much. Why? Just because it's not getting published does not mean it's not research. Publication is separate, writing is separate, research is separate, still research. Research is done alone, that's not really there. I mean, of course, you can do research alone as well, but if you're working in the area of research, a lot of time it's like a very big collaboration. You can always like divide maybe topics or like ITRs, but still it has all of it has to come together and synthesize in a particular way. So research is not only done alone, but also in collaboration. Research is about finding the right answer. It's not always about that. Research is also about discovering better question, perspective, sometimes just highlighting a particular area, a particular site or gap. Now coming to the overview of career pathways through research. So before I go through few of the career pathways, I want to mention that even if you're not doing a particular just research focused, not choosing a particular research focused career pathways, the skills that you learn, your research skills will come in handy all the time, every time. Like I've mentioned, even if you're doing, when you're working with even if you're going in litigation and you're assisting your senior, the information that you give them when you're briefing them about a particular topic, a proposition, when you think you're just reading hundreds of cases and coming out with one particular argument, how do you think you're doing it? That's what research is. So research is not just about writing long papers. Even when you're looking at, let's say you're looking at section 5, and then when you're looking at section 5, you're looking at, okay, what the statute says, you're looking at what the judgments have said about that, how they have interpreted. If there's some vague frame, you look at the scholars also, oh, what the scholars have said, what those scholars have said. Sometimes you look at, oh, there have been judgments that are contrary to each other. What is all of this that you're doing? You're doing all of this, it's research. You're putting it all of those information about that section 5. Just because you're not going to go and write a blog about it does not mean it's not research. You will go and you will brief a senior about it, but what you're doing is a research. Now, if you're not a good researcher and you just look at superficially, so you just go with like, oh, okay, this is what section 5 is, I've read it, so you make notes about what the statute says. Maybe you look at like one or two cases, latest judgments, and then you've gone with a very superficial research vis-a-vis somebody who has not just broken down every essential ingredient of that section, research on what the scholars have said about every single of those essential ingredients, research about what the courts have said since forever about every single part of that section. And then you found a loophole that might win your case. Who would the senior prefer? Would they prefer you? Or would they prefer somebody who can come up with that one minute point via research that will win them their case? You know the answer to that. So that's why research is a very transferable skill. It's not just about writing and publishing and teaching. It comes handy in law at every point of time. So it's a skill you must develop and you must start it at any point of time you are. There's no right and wrong about when you can start with the research. Just start today. I'll go and start with highlighting some of the pathways now. So starting with the clerkship. So I have my own experience with this. I cannot emphasize enough on how important research is for clerkship. Of course, there are a lot of other skills also that's important for clerkship, but research is a must because you are coming up with decisions, and if your research is poor, you can't. So High Court, Supreme Court, law commissions, tribunals, you can read law clerk, associate researchers, judicial academies also. Analyzing case law, some of the skills that you and the work that you would be doing is analyzing case law, drafting bench memos, verifying precedents, comparative legal analysis, research, complex, constitutional, criminal law, civil, all kinds of issues depending on where you're working. At Supreme Court at all, because there's no particular roster that's mandated, like in high courts. The tip on how to start, if this is something you would like to pursue, is of course there are exams for all of this, so that's one area. But if you want to start early, you can also start by applying for judicial internships. So start by applying for judicial internships, especially if you're in your final year, and if you are interning at a place and you're doing excellent work while you're interning, then you can ask them if they would, if you can join them later as a law clerk. And if your work and your ethics have been great, the answer would usually be a yes. So that's one way to start with a judicial clerkship, is, trying to build your CV in a nice way and then apply for judicial internships and work exceptionally well and then secure yourself a clerkship for later. And if not, then of course there are exams that you can write and you'll still be there. So that's one part of it. Then we have the academic and university-based research. So what this is a lot of people get confused because they think if you are in a university, it's only because you are teaching, which is not true. It can be true in the sense you can always do research and teach, but there are a lot of roles in the university where you're not teaching, you're doing primarily research, you're leading projects and all of that. So for example, universities, like where I'm working right now, University of Edinburgh, Childlight is their Global Safety Institute. It's their international research center on child safety. University of Edinburgh has that international research center, and that research center is working all over the globe on different areas of child safety. And I am leading their project in India on child safety with respect to AI and sexual violence and all of that. So that is one way. Though I am working in a university and academic setup, I'm not really teaching. I'm leading projects and I'm working with respect to just research. Similar roles are there in India as well, where I was previously with National University Delhi for over 2 years, where again I was working in the research center, Center for Criminology and Victimology, and I was doing research in various areas of victimology and criminology and all of that. So you can have a very strong grounding in research centers, even in universities. That does not necessarily involve teaching if you don't want to. So these positions can be like research assistant, research fellow, academic fellow, postdoctoral fellow. You can of course be faculty member. If you want to, you can also teach and then do research on the side, or you can also be like a policy researcher. So like there are various different designations and roles out there in these areas also. The skills needed would be a strong theoretical grounding, writing, referencing, preferably empirical research skills, familiarity with the research ethics and the publication process. So one of the tip on how you can start it is start early by assisting professors on projects, co-authoring papers, presenting at conferences. We will discuss much in detail about how to do research and how to write, what to do, what not to do, what kind of places you should get published at, what kind of conferences you should go, who are the kind of people you should reach out to tomorrow. So that's the major chunk of what we will do tomorrow is we'll go from how to frame a research question to the publication stage and what to do and what not to do. And I'll try to like cover up everything because I know we have like quite limited time and research is a huge topic. We're just like trying to touch base levels here. So as students, you know what it is to start with. So you can always reach out to, and even if not just your own professor, you can reach out to other people that you know are working in the research area. Write to them, say, oh, hey, I see you're working here, you're researching, can I assist you in something? Can I intern under you? Maybe they want you, maybe they'll need you, send your CV and see what happens. So that's one way to start and have a taste of it if you're confused about it or you would like to explore it. Then we have policy and think tank research. So these are policy institutes, government advisory bodies, NGOs, all of that. So for example, most of you would have heard from Vidhi Legal, which is like a think tank. So what the people doing there, they're also researching, but it's not affiliated to a particular university. It's a policy-based think tank on its own. So that's one example of it. So you can be a research fellow, a program coordinator, and all of that there. And you can work on different projects, you can lead projects, work on different areas. So what you would be doing and the skills you would be needing is, researching and drafting policy reports, legislative analysis and reform proposals, writing, submissions to parliamentary committees and ministries, engaging with data, field research for justice reforms, all of that. So how you can again start is like a lot of these research centers and think tanks also have like their blogs. So see if you can contribute to that. So maybe like write a piece, send it to them, ask them for their feedback, try to contribute to their blog, maybe be regular at that. If you have chosen one particular place to work at, so that way you would be more visible to them, so later you can apply to them for a full-time role, then it would show that you were always interested. So that's just like one of the tip on how to get on it is by starting to engage with that particular area, that particular center. One second. Research in advocacy, litigation, public interest. So again, what I was mentioning right now, even if you're working with senior advocates and public interest organizations. So for I'll give an example. Now a lot of litigation chambers are also expanding to research wings. I know that because I had offers from a few of them who wanted me to join their research wing as well if I don't want to litigate. So now since research, everybody's also understanding the importance of research. So even if you don't want to go to the court every day and argue, you can still assist a particular chamber with the research work, the background of it, help in drafting and all of that. So there are different areas, right? There's one person who are drafting, there's somebody else who's coming up with the background of research. So now what a lot of chambers are beginning to do is they are bringing on separate specialized people who are doing the background research, and then somebody else is drafting it. It's a thing I've seen in a few chambers, but then I think I've only seen it growing over the last few years. So now this is also happening. So like the public interest organizations and the advocates also, they're having like a research wing where you can contribute by giving them the research on the areas they would want. So you will also be helping in drafting of the briefs, petitions. You will give the legal opinions, which is grounded in deep legal research, not just your own opinion, my God, just deeply grounded in the research that you're giving. Comparative constitutional analysis, evidence synthesis for impact litigation, supporting PILs, amicus briefs, or victim representation projects. So it's always, if you want to work with any chamber, of course, goes beyond doubt that you should do some litigation experience, like in terms of internships. Right now, I have done several litigation-based internships. It gives an idea also on what kind of research they want. So, and it also helps you sharpen your skills, because sometimes you go with all these preconceived ideas that you are like really good at something, and then when you actually reach the level at the ground, you realize, oh, I lack so many things. So right now, as a student, you have the platform to fill those gaps. So don't be afraid to experiment. Go do all kinds of internships you want to do. I keep telling this to everyone. You don't have to really restrict yourself right now as law students on the kind of internships you want to do. If you're confused about something, just go and do an internship. That's how I did so many internships in so many different areas, from corporate to tax to criminal, family, government, socio, NGOs, everywhere I did the internship. So I could know what I like better. And I don't think I would have formulated this decision if I had not tried all of these internships. So don't be afraid to try different types of internships, and don't be afraid if somebody else just has everything figured out. Oh, I want to do in corporate, or I want to go to litigation, or I want to do that. It's okay. You don't have to worry about that. You just have to worry about yourself, in the sense, what do you like? Because it's a career you're going to choose, you're going to stick with. And also, if you've spent like last 5 internships in a particular area, and now you realize, I don't want to do it, I want to switch, just switch. It's okay. You don't have to be so worried about being back or behind. It doesn't really matter at this point of time. I can tell you, like 6 years later, it doesn't really matter. So just do it. Then we have, then we have the corporate law firm compliance research also. So law firms also do hire a lot of, even if they're not officially hiring for the research wings, they do hire a lot of research associates. Right when I'd come back from the UK, before I joined Supreme Court, I had an offer from a big law firm who were hiring research associates who were going to, again, like the same work that you would do with a judge or at a litigation office as a researcher, you would do here also. So law firms are also really expanding to just hire people who are good at research. So you can be legal researcher and regulatory, tax and compliance team, due diligence analysis, knowledge management. So they're like various terminologies they use, but it almost does the same thing. But if you think that law firms are not doing it, or research is only limited to universities, it's not. They're all hiring. You just have to be good enough. And that just goes without saying. You can't think you will bring on mediocre work or work that is chat GPT and somebody's going to look at it and not understand it. That's not going to happen. You need to put yourself out there. You need to excel. And then all of these are options. And I'm not saying these are options from like a far-fetched way. These are options because I see it. These are options because these are offered to me. So I know they really do exist. So Some of the things that you would be doing and skills needed would be tracking legal developments, preparing internal research notes, doing risk assessments, creating compliance frameworks under laws like Company Act, SEBI, RBI guidelines, analyzing global regulations. And yeah, even if you plan to like litigate or then join a firm and not be restricted to research later, you can always hone your skills right now and add it to your CV. Honestly, everything that goes on your CV, everything good helps. Do not like get published and plagiarized and predatory journals which ask you money and then put it on your CV. If you have it, delete it right now. I will talk more about it later tomorrow on what not to put on your CV and when not to get published because it takes away from your credibility. But one thing I can say is if somebody's asking you money to get published, just don't do it. Yes, looking at building a research profile. So the easy steps right now, early steps actually, are if I actually did that. I did participate in a lot of essay writing competitions and I won them, and that gave me a lot of confidence to go ahead with writing. Um, yes, I had an idea, and I mean, I could write before that because I come from an English honors background, but legal writing is different. So, in English honors, your opinions value a lot. It's about what the author says, their opinion, their interpretation, their analysis. In law, it does not matter so much. What matters is what's out there and how you're presenting it. So there was like a huge shift out there about telling my opinion to giving a cohesive argument. But still, try to participate in essay writing competitions and seminars. You might not know when you'll win or when you will just get like maybe you get like an excellent feedback that would help you and everything. Learn citation and formats. I mean, I don't mean you religiously learn where to put comma, where to put the full stop in like which particular referencing manager and style. What I do mean is be aware of its existence, have a copy saved in your Google Drive or your laptop. So if somebody asks you to do it in a particular format, you don't look at them like, what the hell are you talking about? You know, okay, fine, APA, I can do it. Because you have a copy of the APA format saved. So you know how to do it. You don't have to remember every single thing. It's not possible. But don't be clueless and be like, what is APA? Don't do that. Apply for internships again. So like I've been mentioning, especially if you want to be in a research area, even if you don't want to be in a research area, if you want like a publication later, or if you want to sound more scholarly, you should apply for internships in the area of research. You do it with somebody who's also like willing to make you understand and learn a few things. I know it's very difficult to find such people because I know it's very busy as a professional. You think as a student, you think, oh, I'm gonna go to this person and they're gonna change my life, and then you go to the person and don't change your life because they don't have the time, and you think like, oh my god, why can't they give even 5 minutes of the life to us? It gets hard when you're actually working. But if you are persuasive enough and if you bring out the good work and you go to them, then you can always request for a feedback and all. But go with something, right? Just don't go saying, like, I actually got a message on LinkedIn from like a first year student saying, hey Prerna, do you want to write a paper with me? And I was like, what? Firstly, no. And also like you are a first year student. If you want to write a paper with me, come up with an idea, come up with how you can contribute, what will you do about it, why are you reaching out to me, why do you want to write with me. Don't send me a, hey, do you want to write a paper with me? Because no, I don't want to. because I know if you're a first year student, I will be doing most of the work and I don't want to, then I'll just do it on my own. So if you want to assist someone, there's a way to approach them, which is say, oh, I've looked into your profile, I've seen you worked in these areas, I've seen you wrote about these things. Maybe, just maybe take the effort to read one article that they have written. So you can mention about it and be like, oh, you have written about this work, which I actually liked, or, this particular area that I'm intrigued about. So would it be okay if we write something together, or if I assist you in something, or what are you working on right now? Can I intern with you? Frame it in a particular way. Don't frame it like you are a big shot person who's just reaching out to a professional saying, let's do this together, without any grounding. It's not like you are coming with 10 amazing research papers and then you're reaching out to me, because then I will consider, oh, okay, you've done so much work. So even if you have done no work, there's a way to approach people. Don't miss on that. Even if you have done written one blog, but then you want to reach out, share the blog. Be like, I worked on this blog, I've done this, but now I want to expand, I want to assist you, I want to research with you, write with you. Can we do something about it? Frame it in a way that is not easy to get a no. Don't frame it in a way that, oh, why don't you do it with me situation. So that's an early steps on what you can do for a research-based profile. Some of your short-term goals can be publishing blogs and articles and assisting professionals in projects. So even if you're not getting a full-time internship somewhere, reach out to people and ask if you can assist them in the projects that they're doing. You might or might not get a certificate for that, because if it's not an official internship, but you might learn so much more about how to actually do research. So this is when you make a decision of what is more important for you, if it's a certificate or if it's actually knowing some of the works that they're doing. That's your call, what you want. Don't directly jump onto articles of 5,000, 6,000 words. I always keep telling people, start with short blogs of 1,500 words. Publish a few blogs first and then moves, because then you'll understand how to do things. So don't just go and overwhelm yourself with 6,000 words article from the very beginning. Start with short piece of blogs. Again, we will discuss more about the writing and the publication and the whole ecosystem tomorrow about it. Long-term goals. If you already know what area you would want to work in the future, then you can start writing more in that area. For example, after my first year, I knew I wanted to be more or less be in criminal law area. So I've written quite a lot in criminal law area. So, but that's because I was pretty sure about it. So only if you're very sure about it, try to build your niche in that particular area. So it always goes back oh, you were always interested in this particular area. Try to attend conferences, present papers, and collaborate across disciplines. Like I said, try to bring the interdisciplinary lens in your area. Do all of that. Some of the toolkits that you can use is, so Zotero, Mendeley, and Note are citation managers for your referencing styles. You can use Excel and Google Sheets if you're collecting any data, information for all of that. You can use Core, SSRN, JSTOR, Hein Online, SCC for your basic research purposes. Notion and Trello are just online management systems to keep things in track and all of that. And Turnitin and Grammarly, I'm saying for looking at the plagiarism, because most places don't allow plagiarism that's more than 12%. So you need to have a check on it. So Turnitin and Grammarly are two great tools to use that. Then so I'm gonna quickly run with the takeaways. Then I'll give a brief idea of what we'll do tomorrow, and then I would like to take a few questions if possible. So some of the takeaways are research is a process of discipline, curiosity. It is central to your education, your advocacy, reform. A researcher is both a thinker and a problem solver. Publications, citations, research, contributions, it all enhances your professional reputation and academic visibility. And it's also very crucial for higher studies or global opportunities. So if anybody wants to go for LLM abroad, the research is non-negotiable for you. You really need to build on a research profile. And even in India, if you want to go to LLM, if you want to do LLM and then you want to go in academia, of course, goes without saying. Research is a best friend. You can't negotiate here. Then legal visa doesn't end in a paper. It begins with a question. The skills gained as a researcher, that is analysis, writing, synthesis, are all transferable in roles such as judiciary, policy, advocacy, or international organizations. Then lastly, so the agenda for day 2. So we'll be looking at what is a research gap, because unless that's what you will fill with the contribution of your research, that research gap. So we'll look at what is research gap, how do you figure out it, what do you do about it. Then framing a research problem, like what is the problem that you're trying to solve with your research, because if there's no problem, why are you researching on it? Like what is it that you're trying to do, your purpose? We'll look at that. We will analyze the standard structure of a research paper, try to dissect them, look at the different headings, what you should put in there, how you should go about it, all of that. We will also identify different forms of research dissemination, for example, like blogs, policy papers, articles, all of that, how everything works on. And then we'll try to understand the whole ecosystem from writing a paper to publication. And I'll try to somehow sum up all of these things, because these are all like separate workshops altogether, to be honest. But I'll try to make sense of it. And for somebody who doesn't know anything, you'll have some idea about what research is and how you do it later. So those are my 2 cents. And then I would see you tomorrow. That's my LinkedIn, that's my email. If you have any questions, feel free to drop in. I don't mind answering it. Can somebody from PAC tell me if we have time to take few questions, if there are any few questions?
Yes, ma'am, we can take questions for 10 minutes.
Okay, fine. So quickly, if we have any questions, if anybody wants to ask anything right now on what we have discussed today before we call it a day. Oh, I don't think I can unmute people. So Raghu Bhatt have raised their hand. You can go ahead, ask the question.
Hello, ma'am.
Hi.
So I've had the unique experience of having seen the field both as a writer and from the editorial end of things. Right?
Okay, yeah.
And one question that we always see students ask is that we're really interested in publishing, right? But we don't really know how to go about it. Even though personally I feel that once you get a hang of the citation styles, it's a relatively easy task. So you've touched upon certain things with respect to how we may start researching, or what's a good starting point. Other than that, could you perhaps tell me what are some steps that an institution can take to foster a sense of research, right? So because not every college per se has a really thriving academic environment, one might say, where students are encouraged to research, encouraged to write academically, use proper citation styles. So, and this is also backed up by certain policies in place with the government of India and the Ministry of Education. So I was wondering how one might, what steps institutions might take to foster a sense of research. Thank you.
Sure. So to answer it in 2 parts, I'll come to the institution part later. The first part I would say is I always say it is because I'm also from the same institution, right? So I always say, despite what the institution is doing or not doing, it's always, the onus is always on you to make things work for you. I was also in the same environment as you are. You need to push hard, really hard. Sometimes you feel it might be unfair because you're seeing other people being hand delivered what you're really working hard for. And it's unfair, but that's life. So if you are interested in something, you really need to push yourself hard to do it. Now, coming to the institutional part, and I completely understand and agree, not every institution has that environment and even resources to give you individual attention or to give that environment. But I think like maybe things are changing now, even at where you are. I mean, if you're at CLC, is because now you have a research cell. I didn't have it when I was back in 2019. There was no research center at CLC. There was no research cells. There were no seminars happening. I didn't have anyone coming and telling me, oh, research can be a career pathway. I kept Googling and I figured things out and I went ahead. And because I was super interested in the research, I forged this path for me. But I see change that now, if you are like a first year student and you have first year students here, the changes are beginning, right? You are having these quick workshops to tell you things. Now, again, the onus is, I'll tell you how the onus is on you again, because this workshop is open to all CLC students, I'm guessing. Uh, so now if you're giving an opportunity to attend something, to learn something, and then you don't, then it's your responsibility to educate yourself on the things you have missed out. It's not somebody else's. So you may not have the time to attend something, and that's perfectly fair, but then it's your responsibility to figure things out. I think the university, and you also need to understand different universities, different institutions work very differently. Some do have, yeah, a lot of research culture. Like when I went to Edinburgh, I was quite shocked and pleasantly surprised about how much focus they have on research, because Edinburgh is a research based university. CLC did not have so much focus on the research when I was there. I'm not quite sure how things are right now, but then the fact that you still have, like, show has started, so things take time to change. But I see beginnings because I am here giving a workshop just on research, which was not happening 5 years, 6 years ago. So when, of course, you institution should provide that environment, but if things are beginning to change, I think it's time for you to take that opportunity and push harder and honestly help yourself, because that's just how it is at government institutions. You need to really work yourself and stand out for yourself. I have one more question. Okay. But a lot of these initiatives are often created with certain narrative by pattern areas. See, your voice will only be important. Again, that's why I said it's not just your opinion on what you think, it's also about how you cultivate it. So it's not about if I say, oh, apple is the best fruit. And then if you come, you say, oh no, apple is not the best fruit, orange is the best fruit. Okay, that's your opinion, orange is the best fruit. How have you come up with that opinion? Is it just because you like orange, or is it because the qualities of orange outweighs the qualities of apple? Is it because there's so much research done on orange to say that the ingredients in it and the long-term health effects, whatever is happening of orange outweighs the apples? How are you coming up with that conclusion is important. So while everybody will come with their own sets of narratives and preconceived notions and sometimes biases and prejudice also. Now, if you think something is absolutely antithesis to what you believe in and you think, maybe don't go there. If you think it's gonna compromise on your morals or something, don't do it. But if it's a matter of something you don't like but somebody else does, you can always debate it, but not through your opinions. your conclusions and your interference should be based on how you did it. What are your backings about it? And like in terms of how you arrive on those decisions is something that we'll discuss more tomorrow. But you can always, that's why you need to start building your research profile and you need to start reading a lot. A lot. Research is not done by reading 2 articles, research is done by reading 200 articles. So don't try to cut corners, especially when you're starting with it. Read a lot, and then you will be able to formulate a better answer and decision. I think that's it. I don't see any more hands up or anybody else having any question.
Are there any other questions? Otherwise, we can wrap up. I don't think so.
Ma'am, there is one question in the chat box.
I think that's the one I just answered. The policy, think tank, and the narrative and all. Debangni's question, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one I just mentioned about how do you find your own voice by being mindful.
All right, Gayatri, we can move forward. The question answer session is over now. We cannot see any raised hand as of now.
All right. Thank you so much, ma'am, for that engaging session. As we come to close today's session, I would like to call upon Uday Bhadoria, the student convener of Shodh, to deliver the vote of thanks.
Am I audible, Gayatri?
Yes, Uday.
Yeah, you're audible.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. As we wind up day one, I want to reflect on what ma'am just pointed out, that credibility and ethics go hand in hand. As ma'am said, that without ethics, the credibility is lost. So on this note, let us give one final round of applause to the driving force behind today's success, our esteemed speaker, Ms. Prerna Ji. Ma'am, your session on the fundamental principles of research was truly illuminating. And we are deeply grateful for your time, your insight, and the practical guidance you have just shared with us as an alumni of CLC. Thank you for setting such a high and inspiring standard for our workshop. We also thank the faculty convener, Dr. Chola Raja, the convener of Placement and Assistant Council, and Professor Dr. Raman Mittal sir, the convener of Shodh, and all the faculty advisors and the dedicated students, teams of PAC and Shodh for their seamless effort. And we look forward to welcoming everyone back tomorrow, November 9th, 4 p.m., same time, and as we continue to explore the pathways and prospects of nature. Thank you so much, everyone, and good evening.
Thank you. See you all tomorrow. Thank you.
PAC and Shodh member, please stay in the meeting. The participants are requested to leave the meeting, and we'll be having a short discussion. The guest and dignitaries, they will leave, please. Thank you so much. Ma'am, you may please stay in the meeting for once.
Sure.
Just want to make sure have a little discussion.